And good afternoon to those of you in the Eastern time zone, and I guess Central time zone as well. I'm Tad Bradley, the North American sales rep for Ultimate Safaris, based out here in Seattle. You may have seen that I also now have a new partner in crime, based from Stowe, Vermont, Sonia Bradley. No relation, however, but she is doing a fantastic job based from the eastern part of our country. And also a fantastic marketing manager in Denver, Colorado, Gretchen Healy. So we're a team of three currently, and we look forward to assisting all of you on any of your Namibia inquiries. All three of us have been to Namibia on at least one occasion in the past. So thanks for joining us today for a virtual tour of what I really consider to be one of Africa's most exciting, absolutely one of the most stunning, and I think one of the most soulful destinations on the continent. We're going to focus today on a couple of things. First, some of Ultimate's specialist and conservation-oriented safaris, which I think really illustrates the creativity of Ultimate Safaris and what makes them particularly unique as a tour operator and DMC. We'll also touch on a few of our preferred properties, although we're going to focus more on important property updates and plus go into detail on Ultimate's brand new Journeys Under Canvas mobile camping, which personally I'm super excited to hear more about. So I'm going to throw it over to your tour guide today, who is Birgit Bekker, the Sales and Marketing Director for Ultimate Safaris, who's joining us live from very chilly Windhoek, I believe. Good morning, Birgit, or good evening in your case.
Yeah, good evening, Ted. Hello, America. Yes, it's sunny in Namibia, but it's really cold. This week we had about -5 degrees Celsius. I think that's like 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So yes, it gets really cold here in Namibia. Konjima's pool at the plains camp actually froze over. So yes, it gets cold in Africa. No one believes us. We always think we lie about it. One thing we never seem to get right is central heating. We've got the best air conditionings and the best pools in the world. But winter, who expects that? It's like a Games of Thrones scene. We always talk about winter is coming, but we never quite believe it.
Hey,
Tad gave
Birgit.
a good intro on what we're going to talk about.
Birgit, let me just
Yeah.
jump in real
Do
quick
you
and
have it?
just remind everybody that we will be recording this webinar, so you'll find it archived on our website, but we'll send out a link to everyone that's registered. So if you have to jump off for any reason, take a very important client phone call to sell a Namibia trip, hopefully, you will be able to go back and watch this in its entirety later. And we will take questions at the end, so just type them into your questions module on your GoToWebinar panel there, and we'll moderate those questions at the end. So sorry to interrupt, Birgit. Go ahead, continue on.
That's cool. That's very cool. Thanks, Ted. Yeah, I will talk about 30 to 45 minutes about, try not to keep your time too much. And we do quite a broad overview. But if at the end of this presentation you are interested in a more extensive product training where we go more into the individual lodges, do let me know. I'm quite happy to arrange a personalized webinar for your team. So you can just reach out to Tad and me afterwards and we can schedule that for you, tailor-made to your specific sales team, because I know it's not always possible to have the entire office out on a webinar. So yeah, I'm very excited. Let's go on. Namibia. Namibia continues to be the good news destination in Africa. I mean, we just, compared to a lot of other problems in the world, we have a great stable economy. We have a really awesome president. Hage Geingob is one of those leaders that if we were a first world country, they'd have history books write about him. So we're very excited about that. Our rhino population continues to grow despite all these terrible poaching incidents in the rest of the continent. And our NAM dollar, which is coupled to the weak rand, is therefore, gives Namibia really good value for money, as best as you can hope for Africa. So if only it would rain, but otherwise I think we are full of good news in this little modest destination of ours.
Sorry,
I
Birgit.
think there's always going to be a little bit of a delay or lag between the slides. So I just want to, yeah, do
There
you
seems to
have
be
it, Tad?
there
Is it
seems to be
working?
a particular delay today. I'm not entirely sure why. So stand by for 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, I can always talk more about the weather. When we Namibians talk about weather, it is something we really care about. So we had a terrible rainy season this year, not just Namibia. I know Zimbabwe, South Africa, everybody's been complaining. But it does mean extraordinary wildlife sightings. So in that regard, it's been very exciting. So a little bit about Ultimate Safaris and why us. Our little team, since I've joined, we've increased to 15 people in the sales department. And our operations team consists of 14 guides now, plus we have a fleet and guide management crew, all of us proudly Namibians, all of us very fluent in Namlish, our version of English. As you know, we do work exclusively with the trade, so we let you deal with the incessant questions of the direct consumer. We don't touch that part. And I hope that with the launch of our agent login, you'll make your lives easier across the time zones to answer those incessant questions. We select the properties and types of safaris that we believe best suit your clients. So we focus on the middle upper market. We really are objective in that regard. Our cars are amazing, I know. I always get so excited about some Japanese 4x4s. And I go a little bit more in detail about these cars. We constantly innovate, adapt, and adjust. Our people, our guide, they are our brand. I mean, our guides, and whilst we do a lot of self-drive and flying safaris, I think nothing compares to exploring Namibia when you travel with your knowledgeable, passionate guides. I mean, Namibia is about stories. We also don't use freelance guides because we really do want to control the very specific standards that we are known for. Plus, our guides know the trade relationships, and unlike freelance guides, they wouldn't dare poach your clients direct. We are very well connected within the Namibia Tourism Board and tourism industry, so we're usually very quick in the know if something's happening. And as for original ideas and cutting edge, can't wait to tell you more about our journeys under canvas. Yeah, so a little continued delay. We had a really exciting 12 months at Ultimate, a lot of awards, accolades. I think we got shortlisted again at the We Are Africa Innovation Awards. Very excited about Orlando Harasep having been awarded silver by the Wanderlust magazine for best guide in the world, which for us is really exciting. We have received various eco and sustainability awards and various compliances with various assessments of TAP and Leave No Trace. We continuously do guide training and accreditation and try to be really on the forefront of giving our guides not just localized training, but world-class training. This is us, Ted and me in the top middle picture. I'm the one with the blue hair. This is some of our guides, our sales team in animal onesies. That was an event we had last year. For us, the people make or break the business. So even though we have grown, we will continue to be a small owner-run company. And throughout our growth, we made sure that we never lost our vision and values. And we're very particular who we employ, just the right people to the team, whether it's our sales consultants or tour guides. For us, there's really great emphasis that they really belong to the tribe and get what we are about. Now, these are the cars that I keep raving on about. So the Dharma Land makes anything look beautiful as well. But our latest generation vehicles come with even better air conditioning system. It's always a challenge, especially in the summer season here. But the latest generation have the aircon really effectively reach the back of the vehicle. With the new generation cars, we only take 7 people per vehicle. And we will phase out the larger cars in the next 2 years. And also very exciting that the latest generation cars, we've got about 4 of them, even have adjustable seats, and they all come with pop tops in the front next to the driver as well as in the back. So again, we keep developing, we keep listening to what our guests see feedback wise before we move on to the next generation cars, which are being manufactured in Tanzania. This is some of the insides of the latest vehicles. We have doorways on both sides with the steps, make it easier access. You see that none of them have a middle bench. They have the very important cool box instead for your ice-cool drinks. These seats are all adjustable to move backwards and forwards, so great comfort. And this is what it comes down about. If there's a concern about luggage, we do have various off-road trailers where we can store the extra luggage for them. So luggage restriction is never usually a problem in our car, as long as guests are comfortable. Then we are based in Windhoek, and 90% of our guests arrive in Windhoek. So That's where we work on. Then as for the collateral, we do provide on our guided safaris these water bottles that we refill from these large water containers. We try to get rid of all these small plastic containers, which are just very wasteful. On top of that, all our guests get a species and bird checklist book, as well as a Namibian guidebook. It includes general facts about history, geology, fauna and flora, as well as a Namibia map book. On top of that, we give them this canvas day pack, as well as the canvas bound itinerary. But we do know that a lot of our agents actually prepare their own collateral. So let us know what you prefer. We can co-brand the vouchers and itinerary. You just have to send us your logo. Otherwise, we're quite happy to just proofread your itinerary, which you will give to the guests. Let us know. We do give the water bottles and the basic collateral as standard on the guided safari. But on a fly and self-drive, we can arrange it on request as well. It's really an open communication to what you prefer. We are your representative on the ground here and guide ourselves to your preferences. And then, this is where our combis come in place. We are based in Windhoek. All our guests are met on arrival in Windhoek and on departure, whether they are flying guests or self-drive guests. We actually do full briefing for self-drive guests as well. We really want to control the experience on arrival and departure. And we do all our transfers in these minibus air-conditioned vehicles. Again, if there's too much luggage, we do transfers. By the way, all our transfers by default are private, so we don't have various hotel pickup and drop-offs. Each of your guests is personally met by his own driver and vehicle. And then on top of our guided tours, we do a lot of fly-in safaris. We use various aircraft companies. They offer twin-engine aircraft. We've done quite a lot of executive flying in PC-12s. And then one of our favorite type of safaris is the combination tours. And I'll mention it quite a few times in this presentation. So we mix, for example, seat rates using either scenic air or wilderness air. Sometimes we add a private charter. Don't always assume that seat rates are the cheapest or the best option. Sometimes for small groups it's cheaper to just hire a private aircraft for the entire duration. And then we do certain parts we think works really well on a flying safari, Sossusvlei, where you fly over shipwrecks. And the Northwest, again, you want to do with your own private guide by road. That way we visit the Himba villages, we do private game drives in Etosha Park, and the combination tour really gives you the best of both worlds. And I think that will also make you stand out rather than just the standard 6-night fly-in or the standard 2-week by road. Next up, I will go a little bit more in detail about the specialities of ultimate safaris, but also I think in Namibia generally in the bigger context. First up is our people. We are very diverse and colorful people, as you can see. Very proud so. Authentic cultural encounters has become such an overused buzzword. It's actually sometimes quite embarrassing. But from our side, we really make sure that the cultural tours we do are engaged in a very respectful manner with our fellow Namibians. That's of benefit to both your guests as well as to our own people. I mean, one of my personal highlights last year was this cultural tour to the Obahimba village. I've done many cultural tours and I always find them awkward and embarrassing. But that day I was the attraction with my purple hair. They've never seen that. And I can never talk enough about what a stir I caused with my hair. It's that kind of encounter which is personal, fun and sincere that we'd like to encourage. We also try to visit local rural schools where we support them and really make sure that our guests leave feeling enriched after a cultural experience rather than the zoo viewing. However, that means it can only truly be arranged on a guided tour where our guides often speak the local dialect as well as often are from the same area. So again, it enhances the cultural experience beyond just the standard viewing. Then up next. And then family safaris. We are getting so many requests for family safaris, including generational family groups. We don't have any visa requests on arrival where you have to have your bride's birth certificates if you fly directly into Windhoek. We really focus on putting tours together that work for the entire family, whether it's grandma or the 6-year-old grandchild. We really like working with lodges that get it. And we've also done a lot of large family groups. We've just hosted a family group of 19 And we really tailor that. And I think our under canvas mobile camps will actually suit themselves quite well for these large generational family trips, where you can have an entire camp exclusively put together for the family. That is usually the highlight for most families. We've also done quite a few adventure and active tours. There is an increase in getting out of the car and not sit in the car all day, which is inevitable in Namibia. So we do various hiking trails. We work with tuk-tuk trails. We've done kayaking trips, of course, in Walvis Bay, and arranged quite a few mountain bike safaris. They're all tailor-made to the individual client. So we don't have any scheduled mountain bike safaris as such. But we're very flexible to arrange active tours as would suit your individual guests. We do have a bicycle trailer, and we hire local giant mountain bikes. We find that the tours we do are best for clients who want to get active and are fit, but they also don't want to go on a 5-day marathon through the desert. And we see an increase definitely in people wanting to get out of the car more and more, which is easier in Namibia. They're not lions ready to attack you at every corner. Now the next slide is something that we're getting very excited about, and that's our Conservation Travel Foundation tours. Through our non-profit organization, the Conservation Travel Foundation, we are able to arrange safaris that focus on the behind-the-scenes experiences. This is where you meet the conservationists and the researchers and really see them in action. I really hate the word voluntourism because it's kind of pointless in Namibia or Africa even. You know, Africa has a lot of cheap labor. So unless you're a vet or some other specialist, your hands-on are not really wanted. And they're actually in the way. What these projects really need is funds. They need to buy radio collars. They need to pay for the fuel of the research vehicle. They need to pay for the salaries of the anti-poaching unit. So through our safaris, we add a donation fee. We usually quote that separately. And that depends on the projects we visit. That includes Dr. Flip Stunder's Desert Lion Foundation. It includes the Africat Foundation, Save the Rhino Trust, the Giraffe Foundation Fund. And this donation fee can be anything between $1,500 and $2,500 US per person. But this goes directly to these projects. And then your guests are assured to really meet the personalities of these projects and really see how they work, really get their hands dirty in an appropriate manner. The next slide has some pictures of our most recent Conservation Travel Foundation tours, including Africat, and Dr. Flip Stunner doing a personal fireside chat about the days happening with the desert lion. And this is the kind of behind the scenes you can get if you are willing to pay the donation fees, and they're going with great success. And these tours are also done tailored per group. We don't have a scheduled tour as such. Another tour that we do a lot of are photographic safaris. Namibia is very photogenic, and we also understand that photographers have very different needs to your average tourist. You know, it's about getting to the place with the best light, which means getting up at 3 a.m. sometimes to reach Deadflay before the sun rises. And our guides really know what the photographers look out for and which spots to go for. We're very particular about which lodges we choose, because we know that some places like Sossusvlei Dune Lodge is the only property that lets people access the park before sunrise. And we've also recently produced custom beanbags that can be adjusted to height, and they're held together with Velcro. So again, something we offer our photography tours. And our cars with the high vantage points and the pop tops are ideal for photographers. Now, something that we've been doing quietly, but quite a lot about, is exclusive VIP safaris. We've been hosting a lot of very special people, VIPs, and celebrities that you cannot name. They require a certain finesse, discretion, and quite a lot of hard work to make the trip go well. We've got the fleet and a dedicated team and expertise. There's always going to be senior people involved in arranging these very specialized tours in Namibia. But yes, we do quite a lot of these arrangement tours. Then a big part of our business is birding tours. Most of our guides are very obsessive twitchers. They all travel around with their own very expensive Swarovski binoculars. So you're certain your birding guests will get to check off quite a lot of their birds off the list. I think there are about 100 are endemic to Southern Africa, about 14 near endemic to Namibia, of which most are actually found only in Namibia or easier in Namibia, and one, the dune lark, that is truly endemic. So yeah, we get birders and we tailor the tours again specifically to their needs. Then some little bit of insider news, insider tips, which I have put on our agent login, which I'll get to later. But I can't emphasize this enough. As much as I love my city, don't stay here over a weekend. It's a ghost town. Shops close at 1 o'clock on the dot on the Saturday afternoon and only open again Monday morning. Restaurants are open, but nothing else except for the odd grocery store and souvenir store. Even the African markets are closed. So if you can avoid us over a weekend. Also, I mentioned this again, I'll keep mentioning it. Everybody assumes that you can either only fly, or if you have a week, or do it by road if you have 2 weeks. So again, combination tours is something to really consider for the best of both worlds. The Northwest, that is Damaraland, Hoanip, Skeleton Coast, Kunene region, Palmbach concession. If there's the one place you want to see in Namibia, that's where you want to put your guest. Without a doubt, it is the most special place to visit. And yes, we say it's all about game viewing, even in the dry season now. It's about the stories, which again comes when you do a guided tours that tell you a little bit more about this lonesome elephant that you see in the riverbed. And start in Etosha. It really is the best way to start. Get the game viewing out of the system. Let them fill out the checklist. And then they'll just stand by and enjoy the scenery, appreciate the desert-adapted wildlife. Otherwise, they will stop at every freaking springbok in Sossusvlei and totally not appreciate the dunes. I will now go a little bit more into some supplier updates, just some highlights, some changes, some additions, some openings, some non-openings. First up, Anderson's. I've stayed actually at the Ongava properties a couple of weeks ago again. What Ongava Lodge has now developed is a great sunken hide as well, which you can access from the main area. So again, photographers have a great viewpoint. The waterholes are very busy at Etosha, Ongava. They've got black and white rhino. They even have a stray elephant from Etosha that visited. Then some updates on Anderson's itself. It will be closed end of next year and completely broken down. And in its place, they will put what they call the OC, the Ongava Center for Environmental Education. Basically, they're moving their game management team to the OC. That's the rhino and lion researchers and the game farmers. And that gives the guests a bit of a behind-the-scenes experience to meet the researchers. This lodge will be equal to standards of Ongava Tenter Camp and Ongava Lodge, and also luxury standard. And, well, as soon as we hear more info, I'll, of course, share it with you. The camp will only be built by beginning of 2018, so a lot can happen since then. But in the meantime, the Ongavas are going to go through some minor renovations, just soft asset management, as Rob Moffat calls it. Nothing too severe, but just something that needs to be done. You know, in all the camps need a bit of a touch-up. It's been a busy 2 years, so a little bit of a soft refurb is always much needed. The next place, it continues to be a favorite, not just for me, but clearly for travelers, is Hoanip. But firstly, I put this a little map together here. A lot of development has happened in the Northwest, that special place that I mentioned earlier. We've tried to put this map together where all the lodges are. And I'll go a little bit more detail about some of the additions that I've highlighted with the bigger stars, and the smaller stars are just for your own guidelines. And first up, I'll just mention Hoanip Camp. I don't actually want to mention it, because let's face it, it's so fully booked. If you haven't booked it for this year, you're too late. And even next year is already starting to looking grim. It is a great destination, so it makes sense. And don't compromise on only 2 nights. Really, you want to do 3 nights there. Otherwise, your guests are going to arrive there and realize they didn't get the coastal activity and just going to feel disappointed about it. Another frustration is the Skeleton Coast Shipwreck Lodge. It was due to open October 2016. It hasn't even been built yet. And it's not going to open this year. I don't know when it will open up. The reservations office is actually right next door to us. There's a lot of logistical challenge. Access is an issue. We have a lot of questions for them. If it opens up, it's going to be in the northern Skeleton Coast concession near the Huarusip River. We're very excited when it does open. So I'll let you know as soon as I do hear more from this camp. So right now, Hoanip is still the best Skeleton Coast experience. Serakafema, for some of you, you might have noticed it on Wish. It's currently closed from December to April next year. They are planning to do renovations. It's needed, but there's no approval yet, so nothing's been put officially out there. So again, as soon as we hear more, we'll let you know. But the camp does need a little bit of a renovation. It's been quite a few years. Sossusvlei is the newest addition to the Damaraland area. It opened last year. It's also one of the most expensive properties in Namibia at the moment, at about 12,000 rek per person per night. That's about $830 per person per night. It's quite an expensive option. It does include French champagne. It has a very strange, surreal design. The suites are not air-conditioned, but they do have ceiling fans. And they're actually a little bit smaller than a wilderness premier camp. It has a very interesting, minimalistic IKEA feel to it. Their focus here is also the usual elephant drives along the Oegap River, as well as visits to the Brandberg and the White Lady rock painting, and guided walks. It's been selling well this year, especially because Damaraland, generally speaking, is full, and there's been good feedback about food specifically. Now, this lodge belongs to the Namibia exclusive safari lodges. They wanted to open 4 camps. Only Sossusvlei opened up. The other 3, including Kaudum, will not open this year the way it sounds. Kaudum's exterior structure is actually complete, but all the furnishing is missing. They still need to purchase vehicles. The company does have cash flow problems, so that's why they keep saying that they're waiting for the furniture to arrive. But the reality is they need to find staff, train them up. So I would just hold off before I would promote any of these other camps as soon as there's more information. Then updates on Swakopmund. This little town is getting more and more quirky, interesting guest houses. The Delight, we actually find delightful. It actually is true to its name. It's a good mid-level hotel, great value, centrally located, fun as you can see. We actually like it so much, we're actually trying to move our ultimate Namibia scheduled departures into this guest house or hotel for next year where possible. The service is good, it's a bed and breakfast, and we think it fits really well in with our ultimate Namibia scheduled departures. This is now for 2017. Another new property is the Strand Hotel. It's more of a larger franchise hotel. They had some teething issues with their restaurants. They have 3 restaurants. The location is great, right on the Peach Promenade. It's a luxury hotel option. It's got premier suites, even has a presidential suites. These are the architecture impressions, but they actually do look very much like this one. We're waiting for more updates on their pictures. The service isn't as personable or memorable, but the location does really go well, and the rooms are really quite nice. It's just one of the larger hotel options that we've been selling successfully as well. Then a little bit on Sossusvlei. Nothing new there as such, but I think it's important to remember that Sossus Dune Lodge is the only property where you can enter the park before sunrise. Little Kulala may only enter their private gate at sunrise as well, so they are missing out. This is a mid-level lodge, so we would never sell it on a fly-in safari, but for photographers, it just is a hit. It goes really well. It is great value for money. Sossusvlei Desert Lodge, I stayed there about a month ago again. It continues to probably be one of the best luxury lodges in Namibia, not just for Sossusvlei. They spend so much time and emphasis on the service, the brunches are excellent. And also a reminder that this lodge on the 3-night stay includes ballooning, except for July and August and mid-January to mid-February when they're closed. And they have a real astronomer there. So when they're talking about stargazing, they're not talking about some guy with a guide with a laser pointer. We're talking a high-tech telescope with a scientific astronomer. They volunteered to work there for 3 months. It's a dark sky reserve, so astronomers think this is the holy grail of stargazing, so they're quite happy to do it. And when we were there, the astronomer even took our cameras, which were all very basic, attached them to the telescope and helped us do pictures of the Milky Way, which came out really well. So for stargazing, this is the best place to come to in Namibia. And now, next up, what I've been really excited to talk about all evening, it's our journeys under canvas. Ultimate Safaris has always run mobile camps, but they were very much these rustic dome tents, and it was on request. We kind of did this quite informally. But we've seen an increase in demand for this kind of experience, so we've invested in new tents. They had them customized according to our specific interests and needs. There are 8 of them, so that we can offer these mobile camping experience to some of our very favorite special places in the country. Emphasis is on wild, natural adventure, without compromising on the comfort. You get hot showers, wholesome food, good wine, ice-cold beers, very important. The camps are always set up on an exclusive basis per group. We don't have different groups and different guests stay together. We don't set up in public campsites. The whole point is exclusive wilderness and not budget traveling. So ideal group size is about 4 to 6, up to 16 people. We can set up for 2 people, but be aware that all this equipment comes at a surcharge. It's all based in Windhoek. We've got the gear stored here. So for 2 people, we send a crew of 3 people up to the location each time. So it comes at a hefty price. This is not meant to be budget traveling, but we've set it up for 2 people. And yeah, recently we've set it up for a family of 19, and each time with great success. On top of this, we've also got an agreement with the Huab Conservancy, and we've got a concession tender on the Huab Conservancy to set up a semi-mobile camp. So we constructed these decks. The tents are still very mobile. They're always being broken down and returned to Windhoek each time. But this camp will have flush loose. It'll still have bucket showers. It'll still have this mobile camp experience. And we still set up this camp specifically per group only. But this is what makes us really get excited. Some of the images of the inside of the camp. As you can see, comfort is never compromised. It's on proper stretcher beds, comes with proper duvets, not sleeping bag. It's a wild private experience, and it really adds itself to the whole Namibia adventure. Hot bucket showers. We've got a really amazing mobile geyser system that heats this water within minutes up. And again, if these camps, because they're set up on an exclusive basis, your guests can say when they want to shower. They want to shower at 4 in the afternoon or 5 in the morning. You know, we can set it all up for them. This is the location. It doesn't look that far, but it's about a 2-hour drive to Korigas. It's really wild. It's off the main beaten track. It really is centered to, you know, where all the action is happening in the Damaraland. Also, just a little bit more images on the mobile camp. This is where it's set up in other locations. So remember, we don't just set up at our concession Huab. By the way, that little hyphenated thing is a click sound. It's supposed to go Huab or something. But I'm not going to try to attempt the Damara language. I'm just going to break my tongue. The top right is one of our cruisers. That's our kitchen car, completely modified. We can set up anywhere. It's got the full-on kitchen set sorted. Then what's really exciting about the Huab under canvas camp is that there is a Save the Rhino anti-poaching camp based there. So we're in agreement with them to do rhino tracking exclusively for your guests. We can even put kids on there. It's always at the discretion of the guide, of course. We had a very good success rate in finding the rhinos, pretty much daily, sometimes even close to the camp. And that's also one of the highlights of this particular camp, is the Save the Rhino engagement and the tracking with them personally. So contact us with us. We do it tailor-made all the time, and especially now with the space challenges in Damaraland, I think it's going to be a highlight to all your guests, whether it's Premier or not. Scheduled safaris. We are essentially a FIT tailor-made operator only, but we do have one scheduled safaris as well as some suggested tours. We do pre-designed private safaris for your convenience, but the 10-day Ultimate Namibia is a great hit. They're pretty fully booked for this year. We've got 22 departures for 2017. Guaranteed departure minimum 1. Currently still maximum 8 packs because we still have one of our larger cars, but we actually are going to start phasing out to only maximum 7 guests. It's 2 nights at the Sossusvlei Dune Lodge, 2 nights Swakopmund with the choice of kayaking or boat cruise, 2 nights Camp Kipwe with Himba Village and the Elephant Drive, 3 nights at Tosha, which is 1 night Anderson's, 2 nights Umguma Treetops, which is usually on an exclusive basis, and then day visit back to Africa Foundation. As you can see, great value for money, and there's a reason why this tour is so popular. So we do recommend booking early. Then I spoke about our combination tours, which I keep talking about, but we've also put these suggested packages together. We call it the 7-day Ultimate Namibia flying and private guided trips. We have the value and the luxury option. The value is Kulala, Camp Kipwe and Anderson's Camp. The luxury is Sossusvlei Desert Lodge, Moani and Ungava Lodge. It's based on flying to Sossusvlei, be hosted by the local guides there, then fly over the shipwrecks via Swakopmund to Damaraland, Here you meet the ultimate guide, and he takes you by road for the rest of the journey. He takes you to the elephants, the Himba, and on private Etosha drives, and then driving back to Windhoek. It's a suggested itinerary, so we can tailor-make it. We can depart any day, subject to availability. And you can see it's a very reasonable price. So this is a tailor-made tour. It's not a scheduled tour, but it's something that we do suggest for guests who have limited time, but not the budget for full-on flying safari. Now, next up, this has been a arduous, long project, the agent login site. Many of you remember I kept talking, interested and kept talking about it for 2 years. It was a mammoth task, but for those that didn't get the newsletter last week, I'm happy to share it on afterwards. It's quite straightforward to log in on from our main website. You can just contact me, Tad, or Sonia for instructions. I'm going to go through some of the slides, but please feel free afterwards to play around on the site. It's a dynamic site. It's created for you to make your lives easier and as easy as possible to sell Namibia. And we try to really put relevant information here. Do let me know if you see anything, any suggestions, recommendations, even spelling mistakes. I'm the administrator of this, and it was quite a project to do proofread this. And we try to keep it live and dynamic as much as possible. But it's created for you, and therefore your feedback is very important to me. One thing that we're really excited about is the individual camp information we've put together. It includes information on Wi-Fi, how children-friendly it is, the location, exact location via Google Maps, family friendliness, direct contact number of the lodges. And best part of all is you can download this off the site on a PDF that's non-branded. There's no ultimate logo on it. So you can just extract that PDF and send it directly to your guests with all the information that they have, including some pictures for you. And it's pretty much on all the lodges that are on there. Other information that we know there's always a big demand on is the pre-departure information, luggage restriction, tipping list, suggested packing list, again, Wi-Fi, all this information, power supply, what comes through. Again, you can download it on PDF. Otherwise, you can quickly click on each site, malaria, and send it on to your guests. One thing that we also worked really hard on is an image library. We've categorized it according to activities, landscapes, wildlife birds, properties, wildlife animals, all these things there for you. Again, high resolutions. You can download it any which way you want. And again, hope to make it very easy for you to promote our country. And this is, again, all on Namibia properties. Another thing that always comes up, driving times in Namibia. It's a big country, so we put the driving times down that our travelers and our guides drive, not Namibians. We're a bunch of speed freaks. We don't know how to stick to the rules. But this is based on your average driving times. It helps you, again, to explain the distances that guests have to travel, whether it's self-drive or guided. Another thing that also comes up a lot is flying times. Yes, you have the seat rates, which tell you exactly the times, but often there are a lot of private charters. We even put the aircraft time down, what kind of aircraft, the range, the fuel capacity. So again, information that's easy for you to extract from when you plan your trip and to see how much bigger we are than, for example, Botswana. I keep reminding people we're 51 times bigger than the Okavango Delta, so 51 times more challenges. Then also our Ultimate Namibia, the scheduled departure, we have live availability. When you see minimum 1 pax, maximum 7 pax, that's the capacity, and then you can see how much is actually available. So we have 6 confirmed, 1 provisional. It means it's actually full, but it could be that the 1 provisional will clear. You can't book it online yet, so you go through to Sharon to book that for you. And hopefully, we can sell it very quickly. As you can see, we're already getting inquiries for next year as well. So tell your guests not to dilly-dally too much and make a decision about Namibia now already. And another information we have on our website is some insider questions, tabs, frequently asked questions. There's a lot of things we put on there, detailed map, videos you can download, and frequently asked questions about where do you see rhinos and where do you see shipwrecks? How does ballooning work? What's it like in Windhoek town? So all this information, again, meant as selling tools for you. And that's it in a jiffy about what we do and what we've changed, what has happened here. Remember, you have a team of 4 dedicated people to help you with your questions. Tad and Sonia on your side of the continent, me and Tristan on this side. There's always one of us that's going to be able to answer your questions. As Tad mentioned, you're welcome to send us any questions through afterwards or now. And if you really are interested in arranging a personalized webinar that goes more into the specific products, really, if you have questions of how does Okajima work and how do the activities work, I'm very happy to arrange something customized for you and do a webinar, usually around the same time for you. And
Thanks.
that's it from my side.
Thank you, Birgit, and appreciate what a fantastic tour. Great updates. I apologize for a bit of the background noise at the beginning. We had to make a location change here to get a better Wi-Fi signal. So, see, Birgit, even in North America, sometimes Wi-Fi fails you. It's not just in Namibia. But we do have a few questions, so I'm going to go ahead and moderate here and pass them off to you, B. So the first is, can you contrast the experiences at Volvadans versus Sossusvlei Desert Lodge or other properties in Sossusvlei? Obviously, the dunes are in Sossusvlei, but would you go just to Volvadans instead of Sossusvlei, or do you need to do a combination of the two?
It's a good question, because the dunes and the desert experience is actually better at Volvadans because you don't have the masses of people. But Sossusvlei is such an iconic destination that when your guests travel around Namibia, and they will love Volvadans, the dune experience there, everywhere else they go, people will ask them, have you been to Sossusvlei? And if they say no, they'll be like, oh, but you missed out. So we tend to combine the two. It works quite well to do one night Sossusvlei, do the dunes that morning, do the whole checklist, climb up Big Daddy, the Dead Flay is very special, and then we transfer you to Volvadans and you have 2 nights of an exclusive desert experience. The dunes at Volvadans aren't as big, but they're more scenic because you don't have any other people there. So that works really well if you have a 3-night combination. That's why Sossusvlei Desert Lodge works so well as well, because they're on the Namib Run and they do Sossus tour, but they also have their own little dune fields. But Sossusvlei has the biggest dunes. And climbing up is quite an achievement. So if you have time, why don't add both?
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Doing the one night there, just to say that you've checked that box, and it certainly is impressive to experience the actual Sossusvlei dunes and then fly off to Volvadans or to Sossusvlei Desert Lodge for the rest of your time to really chill out at the end. And I don't think there's a better sundowner spots or obviously starscape than the Namib Rand. The Namib Rand, I think, is one of a handful of international dark sky reserves in the world, which is, I assume, why Sossusvlei Desert Lodge has the astronomer there, because the starscapes at night are absolutely spiritual, mind-blowingly cool. So another question here, and actually this is a good one, just to cover specifically, where can you do the journeys under canvas? Are you able to do it on the Skeleton Coast? Are there places where you can't do them? So if you could just kind of talk about locations for the mobile canvas.
Yes, because I did forget to talk about it. So our preferred places or favorite places are the Damaraland and the northwest Kunene region. Along the Huanep River we can, Huarisip. We do in the far south of Namib Rand, there's a private campsite where we can set up as well. We've done near the Naukluft area, we set up anywhere where it's private. So we don't set up in Etosha, in the public campsites there. We don't set up in Sossusvlei. Anything where we see all other normal overlanders and bus groups go. But the entire northwest we can do pretty much. You don't want to redo this on the Skeleton Coast. It gets really cold. But the rest of the northwest Ko'oko land, we love that. That's what we built the under canvas for.
Okay, another question. Do you do any hiking excursions to Fish River Canyon? Which I think spawns a bigger question, which is how to integrate, or if to integrate, Fish River Canyon, and how much time do you need to really include that in a Namibia itinerary?
Yeah, look, we are only the second largest canyon in the world. The US has the biggest, so it's quite a long detour to go for the second best. If you want to do hiking specifically, Fish River Lodge is good because they have a day hike into the canyon. They can even do an overnight hiking experience. The challenges we have with Fish River is that there's no seat rates there, so you book and pay for private charter. The Fish River Lodge is mid-range. It's really nice overlooking the canyon, but it's not a 4 or 5-star lodge. Driving is a 2-day drive down a very boring, straight tar road. So you really got to ask yourself, what are your expectations? We find that most people doing Fish River Canyon have done it after they've done the rest of Namibia already, and now they're going back for this. But the traveling there and back is quite uneventful. If they want scenery only, then the Northwest is best. If they want hiking specifically, then we can do something like Toktoki trails, which is a little bit more accessible. But yes, we do a lot of southern Namibia area and Fish River, surprisingly for photographers again, who go via Lüderitz to do the ghost towns.
So what you're saying is we should go to the Grand Canyon.
Yes, I think so. I've done the Fish River Canyon a few times. And yes, I should promote my country and say everything's awesome. And the Fish River Canyon has its attraction. But it is just such a long way there and back that you really have to manage your expectation.
No, I think it's an important point because, you know, most North Americans, sadly, as we all know, are limited on vacation time. And so adding that time or cost to go down to Fish River at the expense of Damarland or farther up in the Northwest, the Kaneni, or elsewhere, I think is a consideration that really needs to be made. So let's see, how easy is it to add bikes onto an overland program that's not necessarily a quote-unquote biking program? Would they need a special biking guide, and is it cost prohibitive?
No, it's actually quite easy. The other day, or a couple of months ago, we had this family where only the husband wanted to cycle and the rest of the family wasn't interested. So we just put the bike in the car, and everywhere we drove, there were often trails where he could cycle himself, or our guides. Some of our guides are pretty fit, cycled with him. So it's very much tailor-made. Okonjima actually has mountain bikes on site, and people can also ride themselves. So if you want just maybe there or back. Swakopmund does a township cycle ride, so we can put that in as well. So again, we listen to what your guests are interested in. If it's quite a few, we can put it on the trailer and cycle wherever it need be. Some of our guides have identified suitable longer and shorter trails. They're all off-road mountain bike trails, so we don't do tar roads, but they're also different technical skills, so you don't have to be hardcore going up a mountain. Sometimes it's just down a deep track.
Great. A question here about, can we send out a list of the areas for sites for the mobile camping, which I think we can do. Birgit, if you can confirm that.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes, we can. I'm happy to do that.
A lot of great questions here. You obviously inspired people with this presentation. So again, if anybody has to jump off, all of these questions that we'll be continuing to answer here will be in the recording that you can watch at a later time. Question here, can you help with a visit to the wrecks on the Skeleton Coast? I think that's another really important question, Birgit, because obviously the Skeleton Coast wrecks inspire this this kind of mystical shipwrecked allure. But I think you know, as far as a physical visit to them, it can be logistically challenging, and we really generally recommend the overflight because that is really the best viewpoint. But we did do a blog post about the shipwrecks, all of those that we recommend specifically, which I will also include in the follow-up email. But any other recommendations or advice on actually physically visiting the wrecks, Birgit?
No, I mean, Ted, you're spot on. I think we underestimate just how harsh the environment is in the Atlantic Ocean. There's a reason why these ships wreck, because it's really rough seas, and those wrecks don't last long. You know, so the erosion on them, the destruction of them, sometimes all you see is one beam. So it might have been 20 years ago in this amazing shipwreck, and all you see now is a rusted remain. That includes at Hornet, by the way. That Sadocus is just some rustic remains. You still see it, but it's not this glorious ancient old wreck. The best is the Edward Bolen, and the reason why that looks so great is because it's about 500 meters from the ocean. It's 100 years old. It's well preserved. And you'll always see it by air when you fly from Sossusvlei to Swakopmund or back, depending on foggy weather. Actual landing there is more challenging. They're quite expensive landing fees and concession fees because it's all private concessions. So again, we have arranged this before on requests if people are willing to pay the excessive surcharge to see the wreck. So at the moment, the best viewing is by air only. Okay,
can the 7-day fly-in and private guided program that you discussed be done in reverse? So starting with Etosha and ending with Sossusvlei.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Just say again, Ted. What do you mean regarding? Say the question again.
So our fly-in and private guided not set departure, but our sample itinerary, we have it set up to begin with Sossusvlei and then go up, fly up to
Yes.
Damarland. Can you do the reverse price-wise?
Absolutely. I mean, the reason why we set it up there is because currently the Wilderness Air Circuit goes clockwise. They've only recently done the counterclockwise options as well. We're absolutely happy to start. We'll customize it. There are more affordable seat rates coming clockwise, counterclockwise as well. So when we first developed the package, it was clockwise only on the seat rates.
And I think you mentioned this, but we do, for North Americans in particular, really recommend trying to start with Etosha if possible, just because, as I'm sure all of you know, folks that are traveling to Africa, Americans especially and Canadians, they're really anxious to see wildlife. That's what they think they're going for that first and foremost. So getting them to see the wildlife at Africat or at Etosha really checks those boxes, and then they can relax and really absorb and enjoy the experience in Damarland and finish off in Sossusvlei. Oftentimes we do have some itineraries like our ultimate set departure that do begin in Sossusvlei, and some of that is just due to the fact that we are appealing to a global audience. And in point of fact, most of the Europeans prefer to start in Sossusvlei versus the alternative. They're a little bit less impatient and anxious than we Americans are, I guess. So, but that's great information on the wilderness circuit, or the flying circuit, that they now are doing both directions. Another question here: can you do the coastal activities from the mobile camping near the Kunene River? That would be our Huab under canvas, I believe.
No, that's our private concession rules, so no one's allowed to enter there. They actually have just one company doing traversing rides at the moment. We've actually arranged something for a private group last year. It was a huge hassle trying to get the permits. So right now that area is very much off limits still. You can't even do low-level flying over the Kunene River mouth because they have a mine there. They're getting very sensitive about it. Along the Kunene River itself, it shouldn't be a problem. It's just once the Skeleton Coast border starts, it's off limits. For now, you never know what's going to happen next year.
And where is the best place to visit the Himba and have a cultural experience in a true Himba village? And I think you can cover our exclusive Himba experience very quickly again there, Birgit, where you forgot to mention that due to your hair color on our visit, you did mention that they were really interested in your hair, but you forgot your nickname, which I believe was Rosy-cheeked Lovebird is what they called you because of your pink and green hair at the time.
Yes. No, they didn't have a name for my color, so they mentioned I look like this bird that flies up the river. Perez, our guide, was laughing so much he barely had enough time to translate for me. My hair was touched and groped and pulled, and they actually asked, why would I do this to myself? And I said to them, look at you and your hair. We ladies like to do something weird with our hair. But it was good because it's quite a detour, this village. It's an hour off the main road, off a main gravel road, quite rough driving. And that means they're quite exclusive. Any cultural encounter will always have certain structured stage tours. They do dance for us, but they really are keen to show us about their culture, very proud. This is near a village called Erwi, which is near the Grootberg Pass. So it's pretty much only us and some other places, well, Grootberg Lodge, that sometimes visit this. And because of it's such a detour. The reality is the true Himba villages that are good to visit are long driving times. They take a lot of roughing it. If it's close to a lodge or easy to fly in, naturally it becomes more of a stage and a show, and they do become quite arrogant where they want you to buy the arts and crafts. Having said that, the Himba people are very proud. They love dressing up. But if you want a quick and easy Himba village, then you go to a lodge, but you will always lose that authenticity, which is why a guided tour is good for this kind of tours, because we speak the language and we become quite friendly with this particular Himba village.
And this village is very near Grootberg Pass and the Grootberg Lodge. I think it's about an hour and a half drive from Grootberg Lodge itself to this particular village. And as I understand
most of the times,
no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Go on. Basically, we visit this village usually when we drive from the Dammerland to Etosha, and that entire journey is a full day. And people always feedback saying it was long, but it was worth it. But it just shows you again that even if something is on a main traveling route, it's still a long detour back and forth. And that's a compromise you have to make for a true, authentic village visit.
We will send out more information on the different flight routes and different options that you can consider for a fly-in and for the combination trips in the follow-up. A question about if there's a program where you can become a Namibian specialist. I believe the Namibian Tourism Board still has the specialist course. They did for quite some time. Birgit, are you aware if it's still available on their website?
I'll follow up with them. I remember it was the NADM MCA sponsored program.
Correct, yeah.
Let me follow up for you and let you know.
Okay. I've had clients inquire about Kolmanskap, how feasible for a visit, and is it worth it?
It's the same argument I have for Fish River Canyon. The ghost town is really cool. It's really beautiful. I mean, you've got this stunning colonial ballroom and a bathtub in the dunes. So photographers love it. But it is a long day there. It's like 3 days by road. You can fly within Namibia there, so that at least you don't have to do a private charter. But Air Namibia only flies into Gluderitz. So if you want to go continue with the rest of the country, you have to do private charters. We do host a lot of photographers there because they go with very simple-minded focus. But for your average tourist, again, that long detour is only for second or third time visitors to Namibia, not if you have limited time. Gluderitz itself, the town, it's okay, but 1 or 2 nights max, and then you want to move on.
Great. All right, Birgit, I think we've exhausted the questions. Thank you so much for all of your time this morning. This evening, and we will, as I said, send out a follow-up email to all the registrants with a link to this presentation where you can watch it later on with your drink of choice in an easy chair somewhere, hopefully, or maybe outside on your deck enjoying the evening's sunset. And we'll also include follow-ups to some of the specific questions that we got here directly with you or in that group follow-up to the entire registration list. So again, you can reach me in Seattle. You see my email address there. You can find further contact details on our website, cassinicollection.com. Sonia is on the East Coast in Vermont. So we have the whole continent covered. And obviously, Birgit and Tristan are ready to welcome all of your guests coming to Namibia, starting whenever you can get them space. I think that's the biggest challenge for 2016. So.
Yeah, we don't give up. We keep trying. But yeah, it was interesting this year.
Have a great evening, Birgit. Thanks everyone for attending, and look forward to see you somewhere on the road sometime soon. Cheers.
Okay, cool. Thanks everybody. Bye.